Okay, at the beginning of this year, 2023, Samsung Australia sent me, someone with hardly any social media following, from Melbourne, Australia, all the way to Singapore to attend their live Unpacked event. So how did someone like me get invited to such a thing? In this video, we'll find out. Welcome back, and for those new here, my name is Rafi. I'm a medical doctor, but I'm also a photographer, content creator, and I like all things tech, travel, and tips and tricks, along with gadgets and gizmos. So if you like that sort of a thing, subscribe below and keep watching. Now, Samsung has an app called the Members app, which is like their phone community and enthusiast community. And they had one of those described in 25 words or less competitions. They didn't really say what the prize was, but I entered. About a month later, I got a phone call, which I initially thought was a scam, from one of the social media managers saying, "Hey, what's your passport details?" That's the first I heard anything about it. Another few weeks go by and I suddenly get flight details, booking confirmations, etc. On the week before going, I found out that another creator from Adelaide was going to be accompanying me, and we were going to attend an Unpacked event, and they sent a very vague version of the itinerary. I am going to cut to footage from Singapore, and I'll talk you through what's been going on. The day of leaving. The flight was at 9 o'clock in the morning. I was fortunate enough to have Qantas Platinum, which gets me access to the lounges. The flight itself was one of Qantas flights. It went relatively smoothly. Thank you, Qantas, for looking after us. So once we got there, I explored Changi for a bit and got a cab all the way to the hotel. That evening, we got some messages. So there was a WhatsApp group set up talking about what to do and what to expect the next morning. So we got a good night's sleep and woke up early the next morning. So this is the official day one of the event, and it was hectic. The first hour or so was just getting everyone into the lobby of the hotel, where they did a briefing, handed out t-shirts, and also the S23 Ultra before it actually got released. Straight after that, we went to a lovely Asian lunch, just so that we could get to know the other creators, as well as the rest of the team, and find out more about the challenges. After that, we were herded onto a few buses. It felt like being back in school. Then hopped onto the buses and went straight to the Unpacked event, which was in Marina Bay Sands. It was my very first tech launch event, and this is something that's been on my bucket list item for a while. This was their first regional launch, so it was actually really lovely to see. So they had a backdrop, they had a lot of local influencers coming and actually attending the event, and you could really tell that people were excited. Afterwards, we went to the Samsung Experience store, which was literally next door, to try out some of the other things that they talked about. We were obviously playing with the phones before heading off to our first challenge, which was content creation with the devices themselves. So we went and split into two, and one group kind of explored the surrounding area. The other group went on a photo walk and to test out my photography features. This is when the camera on the S23 blew me away, because I was using the S22, that was my device flying out. And I didn't expect that much of a jump in the night videos, especially, but this was just stunning. And night photos were also another generation, but the night video in low light was so different. After the photo walk, we ended up going to this restaurant which had just opened. One of the actual Samsung staff from Singapore knew the owner. So we were one of the first people coming to this restaurant, and the food was delicious, especially this duck menchie meatball thing that they had. I ended up having seconds. We ended up getting home pretty late, around midnight, and we had a lot of content to edit and post, and the next day was another early start. So this was day 2 of the event. We ended up having breakfast and then headed to the actual Samsung regional headquarters in Singapore. Ended up getting talks by some of the leaders of Samsung talking about the camera, talking about their recycling efforts and sustainability, and as well as just having a look around and seeing what their office is like. They have this amazing corner block looking over Sentosa Island. And there's also a smart home section where basically they've got an entire demo suite set up with smart home systems. We had a quick lunch with the rest of the staff as well. And we headed to 29 Rooms, which was an interactive art exhibit that's Instagrammable, etc. that wasn't open yet to the public. So we got first dibs to go check it out. So after 29 Rooms, it was time for the Amazing Photo Race Challenge. So we went to the Art Science Museum just on Marina Bay Sands, and there was 5 briefs that you could choose from, and you had to basically create some content based on the briefs. We're using all the exhibits in the Art Science Museum. So these are our entries. For that, it was time to edit and post everything, then heading back to the hotel so we could get ready for our finale dinner. The finale dinner was at a restaurant called Scaled. Again, very delicious food. There we had the presentations and the winners for the challenge. My team actually ended up coming up #1, so we won that challenge with our pieces of content. And it was a little bit sad because it'd been 48 hours with the gang from all over Southeast Asia. But I think because we were of a similar mindset of being content creators, etc., we ended up becoming friends. Feels a bit weird being an adult and forming friends so quickly, but that's what it was. After that, it was time to head home to the hotel, get a good night's sleep. I had to actually give back my S23 because these were the factory engineering samples, so these were not the final products. How can you get involved in these sort of events when you are a small-time content creator? Personally, if any of the software or the services that you use or the products that you use have like a fan community, the easiest way to stand out is to actually contribute. So I was on the members app answering questions, just generally posting photos before I actually signed up the Member Stars program. The other times that I've gotten lucky with this sort of ambassadorship has been when I've actually reached out either through their community or just to see who's in the PR role. And people are very receptive, especially if you make it clear that this is who you are, this is what you can bring to the table and what you'd like out of it. A lot of time people kind of say, hey, are you interested? And someone has to figure out what exactly you want, and that requires a lot of time, and they get these sort of inbound questions quite a lot. And I was actually talking to a social media manager for like the city of Melbourne, and she was just saying, actually just reach out to the PR people and say, hey, I do this sort of content, I can provide you with this, can I help during the next event? And just being available and being very clear as to what you expect and what you want will take you a long way. For me personally, I don't necessarily want to be paid for the things, I just like the experiences. So that was why when this opportunity came up with Samsung, I went for it. Since then, I've been on one other event locally in Sydney for their AV launch, which was amazing. And top secret, by the time this comes out, I will be heading to the next event, which is coming up in about 2 weeks' time. So there you go. That is the background look as to what happens at one of these tech launches. I know you've probably seen the highlight reels all over YouTube, but this is kind of the behind the scenes as to how this all worked. If you like this video, like and subscribe and all that jazz, and I will keep posting more of this stuff up.